Welcome to Sleepy Time Stories. Hey dear friends, let's continue with the last part of this story. If you haven't listened to the previous parts yet, visit my channel and listen to it first for the complete experience. Let your mind drift away from the worries of today. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and let yourself settle into a cozy, peaceful space. Tonight, we are going on a gentle journey back through time to a place where the river stretches wide and golden beneath an ancient sun. Let the world soften around you as we step together into a story from long, long ago. Imagine, if you will, a distant moment in time. The year, as best as we can measure it, is around 1,250 years before the first whisper of a new calendar. The place is a bustling city known as Thebes, a name that carries weight and mystery. The season is the second month of the annual flood, a time the people call Opet, when the great Nile River has just begun to pull back from the farmlands, leaving behind rich, dark earth. The harvest has not yet begun, and the busy hum of political life has not yet stirred. For one brief, special window each year, the whole empire seems to pause, to hold its breath, as if waiting for something sacred. Today, no one works. The bakers leave their loaves half-formed. The men who carve tombs high in the cliffs set down their tools and walk down the rocky paths. The temple priests unlock certain doors that are open only on this single day. Soldiers who normally stand guard in the eastern barracks step out into the sunlight and join the streets. Farmers from villages 2 or 3 days up the river arrive in a slow, steady stream, on foot, on the backs of donkeys, on flat-bottomed boats that drift with the current. The wife of a merchant closes her ledger for the day, tucking away her calculations. The healer shuts the door to his small clinic. A young soldier, home on leave for the first time in 7 months, sits down to share a morning meal with his mother. Every single one of them, every single person in this vast land, ends up in the same place today. This is the Festival of Opet. It is the largest gathering of faithful people in the entire ancient world. It is a celebration that has taken place during the same week of the same month for more than 200 years already, and will continue right here in the same city for another 1,400 years, until a Roman emperor named Theodosius outlaws the old ways in the year 392. By that far-off time, 80 generations of Egyptians will have walked through these streets to do exactly what you are about to do. So let your body grow heavy and still. Let your breathing find its own gentle rhythm. We are about to step into the final day of 7 days in ancient Egypt. Over the past 6 days, we have slipped into 6 different lives. We have walked beside the farmer, carrying his load of mud bricks. We have sat with the tomb builder in his village of Deir el-Medina. We have watched the priest as he dressed the god in the great temple of Karnak. We have stood with the trader's wife in the busy marketplace. We have marched with a soldier out in the eastern desert. And we have kept quiet company with the physician as he sat with a young husband whose wife had just died. And now, on this 7th day, all 6 of those people are here. And so are you. Using knowledge drawn from archaeological discoveries and old records, we have pieced together what 7 days in ancient Egypt truly look like. Today is the day when the entire civilization comes together as one. Let us gently step back 3,275 years. Dawn arrives soft and pink and warm. You wake in whatever shelter you happen to be resting in. Maybe your own home, maybe a cousin's house, maybe a stranger's courtyard. The whole city has slept wherever it could find space. There are not enough beds, not nearly enough. The streets are scattered with sleeping mats and rolled up blankets. People who walked 70 kilometers yesterday to reach this place are sleeping in open courtyards, on flat rooftops, against the outer walls of temples, in the empty spaces of market squares. The usual population of Thebes is about 100,000 people, but today that number has tripled. It will return to normal in just 3 days, but right now the city is overflowing with life. You eat whatever is offered to you. The merchants down by the docks have set up stalls giving away food for free. Bread, beer, dates, roasted goose. The temple has paid for all of it as part of the festival. You eat your fill slowly, gratefully. Beside you, a man you have never met before is also eating. He is a stone carver from Deir el-Medina, and you realize with a quiet sense of wonder that this is the same person you met on day 2. Next to him, a young woman in a fine linen dress is eating a fig. one hand resting on her belly. She is about 5 months pregnant, you can tell, and you recognize her as the trader's wife from day 4. Behind them both, an older man, perhaps 46 years old, wearing a clean white kilt and carrying a small bronze case of instruments at his belt, is sharing bread with another man 2 decades younger, dressed in the linen kilt of an active soldier. These are the physician and the soldier from days 5 and 6. Then the farmer from day 1 walks up and joins them. Finally, the priest from day 3, who is off duty today for the first time this month, steps into the circle. You are all here. None of you could have known that this moment would arrive. None of you could have predicted on day 1 that you would end up standing together in this exact place. But the Festival of Opet is a kind of event that draws every person in the city to the same square at the same time. And so here you are, 6 versions of yourself, 6 versions of every Egyptian, all gathered at the same hour, in the same dawn light, before the same great temple gates. You eat, you wait. The morning is quiet and expectant, and then, just before midday, the procession begins. You hear it long before you see it. The drums come first, long, low, hollow drums beaten in a steady rhythm by the men of the temple drum corps. Then the chanting of the priests rises up, 50 of them in white robes, each carrying a different ceremonial object. Some hold a sacred rattle called a sistrum. Some carry small statues. Some swing censers filled with burning frankincense. Some hold bouquets of blue lotus flowers, their petals still wet with morning dew. Then the crowd itself begins to cry out, a wave of sound moving through the city, room by room, street by street, as the great sacred boat comes closer. The boat is enormous. It is not a real boat meant for water, but a model vessel carved in the shape of a sailing ship, 3 meters long, covered entirely in gold leaf. It is carried on long cedar poles by 40 priests, 20 on each side. The poles are decorated with carved papyrus blossoms and set with semi-precious stones. Turquoise brought from the mines of Sinai, lapis lazuli that traveled all the way from Afghanistan along long trade routes through Babylon, carnelian from the lands of Nubia. On the deck of this golden boat sits a smaller golden cabinet, and hidden inside that cabinet, away from all eyes, is the statue itself. The actual statue of the god Ammonius Ra, just 2 feet tall, made of solid gold. This is the same statue that the priest from day 3 dressed every single morning at dawn for the last 28 days. This is the only week of the year when that statue leaves its inner sanctuary. Today, it is being carried from the great temple of Karnak to the temple of Luxor, a distance of about 2.5 kilometers along a long avenue lined with stone sphinxes. 600 sphinxes, or so you have heard, though you have never stopped to count them yourself. The avenue passes right through the heart of Thebes. Today it is crowded with 30,000 worshippers, maybe even more. The historians who served the great Pharaoh Ramesses II recorded this festival in inscriptions carved into the walls of Luxor temple itself. We can still read those words today. Modern archaeologists have used those inscriptions to reconstruct, almost step by step, the procession route that you are standing in right now. The priests will stop at 6 small shrines along the way. At each shrine, they will pause for a moment. They will sing. They will burn more incense. They will rest a golden boat on a stone platform built specifically for this purpose. These are called the bark stations. 6 of them have been uncovered by archaeologists. 3 of them lie along the route you are about to watch. The crowd will throw flowers as the god passes by. Lotus blossoms, blue cornflowers, yellow marigolds, petals drifting through the warm air like soft rain. You stand in the crowd. You are pressed shoulder to shoulder with strangers. The air is thick with the smell of incense, of sweat, of beer, of jasmine, of freshly cut lotus, and the faint, slightly metallic scent of many warm bodies standing close together. Somewhere in the crowd, a baby is crying. An old woman next to you is weeping with joy, real tears running down her weathered face, her hands lifted toward the sky. On your other side, you notice a pickpocket quietly doing his work, slipping a hand into the pouch of a man 2 steps away. You do not say anything. It is none of your business. The pickpocket is a person too, with a family to feed and a life to live. The golden boat passes. The god passes. He is only 6 meters away from you. He is, by the beliefs of this time, the most powerful being in the entire universe. And yet you do not see him. He remains hidden inside his cabinet, but you feel his presence. The whole crowd kneels as the boat goes by. You kneel too. You press your forehead toward the ground. You pray. Your prayer is small. The people of Egypt do not usually pray for grand, sweeping things. They pray for specific, ordinary hopes. Let my children grow up healthy. Let the river rise high enough this year. Let my husband return safely from his journey. Let my wife survive the birth of our next child. Let my farm be fruitful. Let my mother pass from this world without pain. Let me live to see old age. And when I die, let me go to the beautiful West, and let the gods welcome me there with kindness. This is what people pray for in any century, in any land. They pray for the same things that you would pray for if you were standing in that crowd today. The golden boat moves on. The crowd slowly rises to its feet. The procession continues toward Luxor Temple. You can hear in the distance the cheer of the next section of the crowd as the boat reaches them. That cheer rolls through the city like a long wave of sound, traveling for kilometers, echoing off the walls of temples and houses. By midday, the festival transforms into something looser, more joyful. It becomes a party. There's food everywhere. Free bread, free beer, free fruit, all of it paid for by the temple from the offerings made by farmers across the country during the past year. The priests are still inside Luxor Temple performing their rituals, but the rest of the city is now eating and drinking and dancing in the streets. Egyptian dance has its own particular style, barefoot, rhythmic, driven by the sound of a small lyre called a sistrum, a hand drum, and the simple, joyful noise of people clapping their hands together. It does not look like the carefully choreographed scenes you might see in modern movies about ancient Egypt. It looks much more like a wedding party in any village, in any time, in any place. People dance with each other. People dance alone. Old women dance with their granddaughters. Young men, who have been watching certain young women across the marketplace for days, finally find the courage to step forward and ask for a dance. Because today, and only today, the usual rules of society are relaxed just a little. So you drink, you eat, you meet old friends, you meet new ones. A girl you knew when you were 12 years old, someone you have not seen in 9 years, walks past you in the crowd. You stop her. You talk for an hour. You are both married now, both with children, both living your own separate lives. You are both fine. It is good to see your face again. The afternoon heat grows intense. The sun climbs high and pours down a golden, heavy warmth. You retreat to the shade of a date palm grove near the river, joining 100 other tired pilgrims who have done the same. You lie down on the soft earth. You put a hat over your face to block the brightness. You sleep for a little while, just a light, drifting rest. Around you, other people are sleeping too. A small child sleeps with her head in her mother's lap. An old man snores softly, his back against a tree trunk. 2 dogs are curled at someone's feet, their sides rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. The river flows past, slow and silver, glinting in the afternoon light. As evening begins to soften the sky, the procession returns. The golden boat is carried back from Luxor to Karnak along the same avenue, with the same songs, the same incense, the same flowers thrown by the same crowd. The god goes home to his sanctuary. The priests of Karnak open the inner doors of the temple. The golden cabinet is placed back on its stand. The doors are sealed. The statue has returned to its small, dark room, and will not leave again until the Festival of Opet comes around next year. The great temple gates close behind the priests with a deep, final sound. But the people are not done. The festival is officially ending. But the celebration in the streets continues long after the sun goes down. Bonfires are lit in every public square. Their flames leap and crackle, casting dancing shadows on the walls of houses and temples. Storytellers appear, old men mostly, with weathered faces and slow, careful voices. They sit on raised platforms and begin to recite the great myths of Egypt. They tell the story of how the god Osiris was murdered by his brother Set, and then brought back to life by his devoted wife Isis. They tell the story of how the sun god Ra fights the great serpent Apep every single night in the underworld, so that the sun may rise again each morning. They tell the story of how the sky goddess Nut swallows the sun every evening and gives birth to it fresh and new every dawn. They tell the story of how the goddess Mot, who represents truth and balance, weighs the heart of every person who dies against a single feather, and how only those whose hearts are lighter than that feather are allowed to enter the beautiful West. You sit by one of the bonfires. The storyteller is good. His voice rises and falls like music, drawing the crowd into the old tales. A small boy beside you, maybe 4 years old, sits wide-eyed and perfectly still, listening to the same story that his great-great-great-grandfather heard at the same festival in the year 1450 before Christ, in front of the very same temple. The continuity of this culture is almost impossible to comprehend. By the year 1250 BC, Egypt has already existed as a single, unified civilization for nearly 2,000 years, and it will continue in one form or another for another 1,200 years after this night. The same gods, the same rituals, the same picture writing called hieroglyphs, the same great river, the Nile. The Romans will eventually conquer Egypt in the year 30 BC, after the death of Cleopatra VII, and the Romans will adopt many of these Egyptian gods and carry them back to Italy. The worship of Isis will spread across the entire Roman Empire, from the cold island of Britain to the hot lands of Gaul and back to Egypt itself. 2,000 years from now, in your own time, people will still know these names: Isis, Osiris, Ra, Anubis, Hathor, Sekhmet, and some of them, in their own quiet ways, will still be prayed to. Night settles in fully now. The stars come out, scattered across the dark sky like grains of sand. The ancient Egyptians called the Milky Way the Heavenly Nile, and tonight it arches from one horizon to the other, full and bright, a river of light flowing overhead. The real river below reflects the stars, a band of silver rippling in the darkness. You walk back toward whatever spot you have chosen to sleep in tonight. The streets are much quieter now. The bonfires are burned down to soft, glowing embers. Most people have found their places to rest. The stars are your only company as you walk. You stop at the riverbank. You look out at the dark water, and you think about the past 7 days. You think about the farmer carrying his load of bricks in the pale light of dawn, the way his shoulders ached, the way he ate an onion in 3 quick bites, the way he watched a hippopotamus surface in the river just 50 meters from where his children were playing. You think about the tomb builder in Deir el-Medina, sitting on a cool stone floor at lunchtime, eating bread and a cucumber, sharing a quiet joke with his work crew about the chief scribe who never seemed to do any real work. You think about the priest at Karnak, alone in a small, dark room before the sun rose, undressing a small golden statue with the same gentle care that a parent might use when putting a child to bed. You think about the trader's wife, her hand resting on her round belly, lie beside her husband in the dim light of an oil lamp, listening to a neighbor's dog bark in the distance, and trying not to think too much about the daughter she had lost. You think about the young soldier out on the desert sand, 18 years old, drinking captured Hittite wine and watching the stars appear one by one, feeling something almost like happiness for the first time in 3 weeks. You think about the physician sitting with a young husband whose wife had just died, holding that man's hand for an hour while the afternoon sunlight moved slowly across the floor of a small, quiet room. And you think about today, this enormous, shared, impossible moment when an entire civilization stopped working at the same time, gathered in the same streets, watched the same golden statue carried in a sacred boat through a city that had already stood here for 2,000 years and would stand for another 2,000 more. The Nile flows past you in the darkness. It flowed past your great-grandparents. It will flow past your great-grandchildren. It will still be flowing here, exactly here, in 3,000 years, when people you cannot possibly imagine, strangers in a future you will never see, sit on this same riverbank and look out at this same water and try to understand what it was like to be alive in the year 1250 before Christ. You will never know any of that. You are here now, in this one small moment. You drink one last cup of beer. You walk home through the quiet streets. You lie down. You close your eyes. And you sleep. So that was 7 days in ancient Egypt. Not the golden death masks. Not the famous pharaohs whose names fill the history books. Not the pyramids on the postcards. This was a real Egypt. The the one that breathed and ached and loved and lost. Bread with sand in it, that ground people's teeth down to stumps over a lifetime. Beer so thick you could almost chew it. A heartbreaking infant mortality rate of nearly 30%. A festival that gathered an entire empire into a single street. Healers using moldy bread on wounds 3,000 years before anyone discovered penicillin. Women who could divorce their husbands and run their own businesses. Stone carvers who could read and write. Soldiers who killed in battle and then carried those memories for the rest of their lives. A civilization so deeply focused on a world to come that the dead lived on one bank of the river and the living on the other, separated by a stretch of dark water. Egypt is one of the longest-lived civilizations in all of human history. 3,000 years. 30 dynasties of kings and queens. The same gods, the same rituals, the same hieroglyphs, the same Great Nile, generation after generation, century after century. The span of time is so vast that by the year 30 BC, when the Romans finally conquered Egypt, the Great Pyramid at Giza was already older to those Roman soldiers than the Roman Empire itself is to us today. What did they figure out, these people of the Nile? They invented bureaucracy. They created one of the first systems of writing. They developed medicines and treatments that would not be seen again for thousands of years. They built structures so precisely that we still do not fully understand how they aligned stones with the cardinal directions. But what they truly understood, what Egypt grasped better than almost any civilization before or since, is the quiet power of continuity. The same rituals every morning, the same flood every year, the same gods dressed by the same priests for 2,000 years. A culture so stable that change moved through like a slow, deep river, almost invisible, almost imperceptible. And within that deep stability, ordinary people built ordinary lives. They raised ordinary children. They carved ordinary words onto ordinary fragments of broken pottery. And somehow, against all the crushing weight of time, those small fragments survived. We can read them today. We know their names. We know what they ate for breakfast. We know what they prayed for in the dark hours of the night. 3,000 years later, on a different bank of a different kind of river, you can still see what they saw. You can still feel the warmth of their sun on your face. You can still hear the echo of their voices carried on the wind. Thank you for traveling through time with us, dear friend. Thank you for walking these 7 days among the people of the Nile. May your own dreams be gentle and deep tonight, as soft as the slow current of that ancient river. May you feel the peace of thousands of years of human life flowing beneath you, carrying you into a restful, healing sleep. Close your eyes now. Let your breath grow slow and even. Let your body sink into the warmth of your bed. You are safe. You are held. You are part of the long, beautiful story of people who have loved and lost and rested beneath the same stars. Enjoyed the sleep story? Subscribe for more relaxing history and bedtime tales. Share your thoughts in the comments and tell me what you'd like to listen to in the next video. Good night, dear friend. Sleep deeply. Dream gently.